The country is opening up again, and that means craft shows are too. After over a year off of the hustle of setting up a shop at a fair, you might be ready to get back out there and sell your art in person. Craft shows can be a great source of income and a fun opportunity to meet other artists. Still, these shows shouldn't be your only source of income, but that's a video for another day. But if you're planning on taking your post-pandemic business offline, you'll want to watch this video before you do. Hi, my name is May Pak. I help makers, artists, and designers make a living selling their handmade products online. These days, I don't do craft shows anymore since my business's online sales are much more profitable and easier to get because craft shows are a lot of work. When I was starting my business though, I did dozens of shows. Trust me when I say, if there was a show, I was interested in being there. Today, I'm going to share what I learned doing all sorts of shows like craft fairs, music festivals, summer and holiday shows, so you can decide if a show is right for you or not. We might think that a craft show is a super easy way to make sales because, you just show up and sell our stuff, right? Well, there's actually a lot more to it than just getting there and setting up shop. Participating in the wrong craft show can actually hurt your business and make you lose money, just as much as joining the right one can help it. So please proceed with caution. Here are the 5 questions you need to consider before signing up for any particular craft show. The first question is, does the show attract your ideal customers? Many artists don't really think about this before they show up for a show. The idea of selling our art anywhere is just so tempting, right? That we forget to even look at who the show is really even for. When a show doesn't attract the customers that will be interested in your product, it'll be a waste of your time and money. No one wants that, especially when you're just starting out because it's super defeating when you don't make any sales. So make sure you know the type of people that will be attending the show. You can get a pretty good idea of who's going to be there by looking at what other vendors sold on there in the previous years. And you should be able to find that information on the craft show's website or on their social media. Of course, this can also be prevented by finding out if a craft show is juried or not. A juried craft show requests artists to submit an application, so you won't be accepted if your art doesn't match what the show is aiming for that time. Non-juried shows will let anyone sell their products and tend to be much cheaper to participate in. Whether it's juried or non-juried, definitely check out the show's website and look at the previous year's photos to see if the fit looks good for you. That brings us to question number 2. Is the craft show juried? Generally speaking, I recommend juried shows over non-juried shows. You might be intimidated by the application process of juried shows, but it's ultimately a good thing if a show is selective with their sellers. I was rejected by Renegade Chicago 2 years in a row before I was finally accepted in the 3rd year of applying. I ended up making more money at that show than at any other craft show I'd ever done before. Because here's the thing, non-juried shows can end up overcrowded with a ton of artists selling similar products. It's not fun having too much competition. Not only that, but many non-juried shows accept MLM, multi-level marketing sellers, in addition to handmade sellers. That means people will be selling things like Tupperware or other non-handmade products. That's not a recipe for success for you. Some artists recommend starting with non-juried shows so you can get a good feel for the game before you move on to juried shows. But I still think these shows might be better to avoid altogether, especially when you can sell your products online. Juried shows, on the other hand, feature a diverse variety of products in that there's usually a cap on how many jewelry designers or soap makers or t-shirt shops and so on to bring on. So you're not competing with like 10 other vendors selling a product just like yours. They also tend to be very well organized, widely promoted shows that attract a ton of eager customers. Non-juried shows tend to attract all sorts of businesses without any specific theme, right? Like you might find a dentist promoting their teeth whitening services at the show, or shops that are selling made in China products, MLM products like I mentioned before, so it's just not specific. So potential customers don't really know what to expect and aren't really there with the intention to buy something specific. They're just maybe there to look or spend their afternoon at an event. Customers at juried shows are there because they're looking for cool, unique handmade products or art. If you're choosing between juried or non-juried, try to go with a juried event whenever possible. Now let's move on to question number 3. What does the show organizer do to promote the show? This is really important and another thing that many artists forget to consider. Remember though, that show promotions are your booth's promotions too. First of all, if no one knows about the show, no one will be there to buy your product. Secondly, a lack of marketing shows a lack of care. You want a show organizer who's as excited about this fair as you are, right? So if the show organizer doesn't do much to market it and relies solely on the vendors to market themselves and the show, that's kind of a bad sign. The whole point of craft shows is for you to reach a new audience, so you need the organizer to promote the event too, or no one's going to show up. In some of the better shows I've done, the organizer would promote their event and their vendors on like the local news, they would promote it on social media, they'd speak on the radio, they'd leave flyers in surrounding businesses like at coffee shops and cafes, and they would even host events like raffles, activities, bands, they'd bring in food trucks. They went out of their way to not only spread the word, but also to make sure customers had a great time once they got to the event. That's an organizer who really cares about the show and the vendors, which makes all the difference. Great marketing is a sign of a potentially great craft show, and at a great craft show, you're much more likely to make a good amount of sales. Next, you can ask what other vendors think about the show. You can look at the show's website and social media to find out who the previous vendors were. You can even search the hashtag for the craft show on social media and look through old posts. When you find the vendors, don't hesitate to reach out to them and ask about their experience. We're a community of artists, which means that we like to help each other. You'll find that most artists you reach out to will be happy to share their experience with you, and they'll give you first-hand advice about whether the show is worth your time and money or not. Next, what is the cost? We all know that craft shows, especially high-quality juried shows, can get pricey, right? Fees at juried shows can sometimes reach the thousands of dollars, and they can even charge you extras on top of that. Still, a good show should make you 2 to 4 times the cost you spend in sales. After you research the show and talk to previous vendors, think about whether or not the show will realistically make you that kind of money. And remember to factor in the cost of travel, food, hiring extra help, your time working the show, and accommodation if it's out of state. If you don't think you'll be able to at least double what you need to spend, then that craft show may not be worth your time. When you find a craft show that's a solid fit for you, it can be a great source of income. You'll find that the show is highly organized, well attended, and just plain fun to do. At the end of the day, you'll never really know how a show will be for you until you try it out yourself. If it's good, you can keep doing that show year after year. But if not, make way in your schedule for a different show. Still, like I said earlier, shows shouldn't be your only source of income. It's exhausting to do shows, so energy management is important here. That's why it's so important to carefully consider your options and do your research before you send those craft show applications in. Are you planning on attending a craft show this year? What are some great shows that you've done? I'd love for you to let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to mention what state you're in. Like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to my channel for more handmade business guidance. And keep hanging out because the next video is just about to start.